Beneath the waves lies a hidden world filled with beauty, danger, and secrets we've barely begun to understand. From ancient ruins lost to time to creatures that look straight out of science fiction, the underwater realm never stops surprising us. Join us on this incredible journey as we reveal the most unbelievable things ever discovered beneath the surface. Underwater Temple Garden. Temples are beautiful constructions dedicated to the devotion of higher beings and are spread throughout the world. While you would expect to find these temples on dry land, the thought of one being submerged under the sea would elicit an expectation that there was a mishap. But in this strange case, the temple was purposefully built under the waves. The Underwater Temple Garden in Bali, Indonesia, contains a Balinese Hindu temple compound, was built in 2005, and is the brainchild of Australian Chris Brown, a marine biologist and underwater cinematographer known for his work in creating artificial reefs and underwater sculptures. He has been living in Pemutaran Bay in West Bali for several years. In addition to the Underwater Temple Garden being a beautiful spectacle and a home to the local marine life, the temple also draws in curious divers who make contributions to the Reef Fardeners Project as part of their visit. This donation is given to unemployed local fishermen who are then trained in the maintenance of the local coral. This means that the Underwater Temple Garden is a job creator for the local communities and serves as an awareness raiser for the essential topic of marine conservation, as well as being a place of beauty and tranquility in picturesque Bali. Fantastic! 11-foot crucifix. Submerged under some 20 feet of water and ice at the bottom of Lake Michigan's Little Traverse Bay, an 11-foot white marble cross with a life-size statue of a crucified Jesus Christ is visible to curious spectators willing to venture out onto the frozen bay in winter. The crucifix was crafted in Italy in 1956 at the behest of a mourning family following the tragic loss of their 15-year-old son to a freak gun accident. Weighing in at almost a ton, it arrived at the local church after its long journey with unsightly damage, including a broken arm, and was deemed unfit to honor their late child. Instead, the crucifix was sold to a local diver from the Superior Marine Divers Club in 1962, who submerged it under 65 feet of water in the middle of Little Traverse Bay as a tribute to a drowned peer. Over 20 years later, the crucifix was moved further inland to its current location in the bay, about 800 feet offshore. Then, in 1986, the president of the Little Traverse Bay Diving Club decided to inaugurate an annual winter viewing of the submerged statue, during which divers conserve the statue and situate underwater lights around it for improved visibility. The largest viewing was in 2015 when over 2,000 people congregated on the ice. It wasn't until March 2019 that the conditions were agreeable enough to host another viewing. A hole was cut into 5 feet of ice for a clear view of the statue, which attracted an estimated 1,200 curious onlookers. Vampire squid found underwater. Vampire squid are cephalopods that are about the shape, size, and color of a football. The name vampire was given to these little squid because of the dark blood red coloration, eye color, which is sometimes blue in different lighting, and what looked like spines on the tentacles. These gave rise to the false idea that it sucked blood out of its victims, but it doesn't drink blood or hang upside down in a cave. Instead, it lurks 1,000 meters below sea level. The vampire squid isn't even a squid, nor is it an octopus. It is its own special kind of animal in its own unique group called a Vampiromorida. When the vampire squid turns its cape inside out to display large spikes on the inside, it is all for show, as it is not a predatory creature and is in fact relatively harmless unless you are plant or animal matter that happens to float by it. The vampire squid does not expel ink when under threat, as you may assume. This is due to the darkness of its environment, making that ploy pointless. Instead, it shoots out a colorless substance that contains bioluminescent material which shimmers in the pitch-black environment of the mesopelagic zone, startling its foe. The vampire squid also produces light at the ends of their arms as a means of defense, but also potentially as a way of communicating in its pitch-black environment. The vampire squid could also turn itself inside out as a way of avoiding predators, and while most cephalopods can't survive below 50% oxygen saturation, the vampire squid have found their way of adapting to these conditions. The Lion City. The underwater city known as the Lion City or Xisheng is hidden 40 meters beneath the surface of Qiandao Lake in eastern China. Xisheng was believed to be the most prominent Chinese city that remains well preserved. Many of its homes, temple structures, and paved roads were preserved by being 131 feet underwater. In this way, it was protected from wind, rain, and sun damage.
According to the evidence found, the lost city was inhabited for centuries, but is now primarily used as an underwater tourist attraction by tourists and diving experts. Xishang was named the Lion City after the nearby Wuxi Mountain in the Qiandao Lake. It is believed the city of Xishang was built during the Tang Dynasty in 621 AD, making it nearly 1,400 years old. Based on records of the region's history, it is thought to be quite large, possibly over 60 football fields, and feature 265 arches throughout the city. Xishang was also unusual in that it was constructed with 5 city gates and towers as opposed to the norm of 4. The city of Xishang was believed to date back even further to the Han Dong dynasty. The Chinese government planned an expedition to explore the remains of the lost metropolis in 2001 when the city was rediscovered. In 2011, pictures and graphics were published by the Chinese National Geography, which sparked interest among the general public and researchers to explore.
Underwater tire graveyard. From 1967 to 1973, 1 to 2 million tires were dumped into the water with the intent of creating an artificial reef, the Osborne Tire Reef. According to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, tires were bundled into groups of 8 with plastic strapping designed to not rust or corrode in the water and were released at depths of 65 to 70 feet between 2 coral reef tracks running parallel to the beach. Despite good intentions, what was supposed to be a reef essentially became an underwater, uninhabited cemetery for the big rubber rings. At first, the project was hailed as revolutionary, a cost-effective way to promote marine life while also getting rid of millions of scrap tires. News crews documented volunteers dumping the bundles offshore, smiling and waving as the reef of the future sank below the waves. But within a few years, divers began to notice the grim reality. Instead of fostering life, the tires were scouring the ocean floor clean, their sharp edges damaging coral and seagrass. Storms and hurricanes only made matters worse, dislodging the tires and scattering them across miles of seabed. Some washed ashore, others tangled in living coral, and still others sank deep into sandy trenches where retrieval became nearly impossible. Marine biologists later described the site as a wasteland of black rubber, devoid of the fish and plant life it was meant to attract. The failure of the Osborne Reef became a case study in environmental mismanagement, a lesson that good intentions without ecological foresight can wreak long-lasting harm. In 1974, the year after the last tires were dumped, a study showed there were a number of problems. According to the commission, tires migrated over a large area because of the depth of the water, strong currents, and haphazard dumping. Additionally, inaccurate navigational controls caused the wrong placement of the tires, which led to some landing on and damaging the reef tract. Many of the plastic bands were broken when the bundles stacked on the barge were lifted, and some of the steel-belted tires that were unable to be hole-punched trapped air and floated instead of sinking to the seafloor as intended. In the past couple of years, divers have started removing these tires from underwater as it has obviously done more harm than good. The Atlet Yam. In 1984, off Israel's Mediterranean coast, marine archaeologist Ehud Galili discovered an ancient settlement that had been submerged for millennia. The site was at first a mystery, but as underwater excavations progressed, the veil was lifted. It turned out to be the biggest and best preserved prehistoric site ever discovered along the Mediterranean shoreline. Atlet Yam, a Stone Age village dating from at least 9,000 years ago, stretches over more than 4 hectares at a depth of 10 meters and comprises houses, altars, and numerous intact tombs containing dozens of bodies, burial objects, the remains of nets, and an altar of cut stone. This makes it an exceptional site, informing us about the way of life of the coastal people during the Neolithic period. There were no organized streets, so the site is described as a village rather than a city, but its people lived in spacious stone houses complete with paved floors, courtyards, fireplaces, storage facilities, and wells. Their exposure, however, has put many of the artifacts in grave danger.
Underwater steam engines. We've all heard of train graveyards, but have you heard of one that is located underwater?
Check this out. Off the coast of New Jersey, there is a deep-sea train graveyard. Under 90 feet of water lie two locomotives that were lost in the 1850s. This graveyard was found by chance by Paul Hepler back in 1985. He was mapping the bottom of the ocean with a magnetometer. The device, when over the graveyard, picked up on the two huge metal objects that turned out to be the trains. Despite the murky water, experts have examined the trains in their watery resting places. The locomotives appear to be rare Planet-class 222T models, a model that was only produced for a short time due to the unfortunate fact that they were obsolete almost as soon as they were produced. What remains a mystery, however, is how the two steam engines came to be sunk. There are no historical records of them being lost. In fact, there are no records of the engines being built in the first place. It could be that the records with those details had been lost or destroyed in an accident, or perhaps they never existed in the first place. Explorers believe that the engines were lost in a storm 5 miles off the coast of Long Branch, New Jersey, as they were being transported from Boston to the mid-Atlantic. In whatever fashion they came to rest in their current location, the end result is that the two engines have been underwater and plagued by rust and barnacles for 160 years. In spite of that, they seem to be remarkably well preserved. World War II plane. In 2018, a team of proficient archaeological divers made headlines with their remarkable discovery in the depths of the Coral Sea off the eastern coast of Australia. They found a rare World War II plane resting nearly 3,000 meters below the surface, which captured the imagination of historians and enthusiasts. This discovery represents more than just a sunken relic or a recovery of a plane. It also offered fresh perspectives on the events that unfolded during the war. Not long after the initial discovery, researchers revealed that the site also served as the final resting place for several soldiers who perished in the crash. One of the key factors attributed to the success of the expedition is the utilization of advanced technology, from state-of-the-art sonar equipment to remotely operated vehicles. The divers leveraged on tools that helped them with their discovery. Moreover, the discovery of the World War II plane has sparked renewed interest in maritime archaeology, inspiring researchers to delve deeper into the mysteries of the ocean's depths. The Yucatan's hidden underwater river. The ocean is a vast place, so vast that it is basically another planet compared to life above ground. While your mind drifts to bizarre-looking creatures and treasures from the past when imagining what could lie at the bottom, an underwater river probably doesn't spring to mind. You would assume that this is impossible. The Yucatan Peninsula at Mexico's Cenote Angelita is home to many incredible pieces of treasure, ranging from Maya artifacts to ancient human sacrifices, as well as an underwater river. Divers who descend into the depths of Cenote Angelita often describe the experience as entering another realm altogether, one where gravity, air, and water seem to blend into a surreal dreamscape. As they swim deeper, the clear blue gradually darkens until they reach the mystical fog layer where ghostly tree branches emerge from the haze, as if reaching out from a forgotten forest. The thick hydrogen sulfide cloud gives the illusion of a river current flowing through a submerged world, complete with banks formed by the cave's rock formations. Experienced divers who have ventured through the haze report an eerie calm, a complete silence interrupted only by the sound of their own bubbles rising into the gloom. The sensation of floating between two different worlds, freshwater above and the sulfuric underworld below, has made this spot both a scientific marvel and a spiritual destination for adventurers. Some say that descending into Cenote Angelita feels like crossing the line between life and death, a descent into the heart of the earth itself. The first 29 meters of the Cenote Angelita contain fresh water, while the underwater river is made up of water and significantly heavier hydrogen sulfide. Where these two different densities meet result in a dry ice-like fog which is called a halocline, which looks like something out of a horror movie. With the waters beneath shrouded in mist, this underwater river is held separate from the rest of the ocean, similarly to how water and oil remain separate when you place them in the same cup. Cannon of Pirate Blackbeard. Blackbeard, also known as Edward Teach, was one of the most infamous pirates of the golden age of piracy in the early 18th century. His fearsome reputation and distinctive appearance, adorned with lit fuses under his hat, struck terror into the hearts of his victims. He operated in the waters of the West Indies and the eastern coast of the American colonies, plundering ships and coastal settlements. In November 1718, a naval expedition led by Lieutenant Robert Maynard was dispatched to capture or kill him. Maynard and his men engaged Blackbeard's crew in a fierce battle off the coast of Ocracoke Island, North Carolina. Despite a valiant fight, he sustained fatal wounds and his head was displayed as a trophy, marking the end of his reign of terror. Recently, archaeologists made a significant discovery related to him. A cannon believed to belong to his flagship, the Queen Anne's Revant, which ran aground off the coast of North Carolina in 1718, was pulled from underwater. After nearly 3 centuries underwater, the cannon has become encased in a cement-like shell of sand, salt, and aquatic creatures. It could take years for researchers to learn exactly what the shell contains. In addition to the cannon, this 8-foot-long, 900-kilogram gun raised above the water's surface has given archaeologists and historians more ammunition for separating facts from legend surrounding the infamous pirate Blackbeard. Numerous studies are now ongoing on the cannon's construction, origin, and use. This involves detailed analysis, conservation efforts to preserve them, and further research into their historical significance. Additionally, the cannons may be displayed in museums to educate the public about piracy and maritime history.
Before we move on, here is today's topic. In February 2024, scientists from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, MBRI, made a discovery that stunned the global marine community. While using a deep-sea drone to study whale carcass decomposition near the Mariana Trench, their sonar picked up multiple massive heat signatures moving in unison, something never before recorded among sharks. When the drone's camera locked on, it revealed a coordinated group of enormous sharks swimming together like a hunting pack. Each measured over 40 feet long, far larger than modern great whites. Their skin appeared darker, their fins thicker, and their movements synchronized, as if following a leader. Marine biologist Dr. Emily Cross described the footage as the most unsettling behavior ever observed in deep-sea predators. The team dubbed them apex units, but some experts fear they could be surviving descendants of the ancient Megalodon. What do you think? Evolution in motion, or proof that prehistory never really ended? Crusader sword. A sword that was discovered by a diver off the coast of northern Israel in 2021 was likely lost overboard during a fierce naval battle between Crusaders and Muslim residents of coastal cities some 800 years ago. Archaeologists announced in an article published that it was encrusted with shells, sands, and hardened microorganisms, also called a biogenic crust. This crust preserved the sword for centuries, since iron usually oxidizes and disintegrates in salt water. When the diver first spotted the weapon lying beneath the shifting sands, only its outline was visible under a thick coral-like covering. It took immense care to free it from the seabed without breaking it apart, as centuries of corrosion had fused it into the ocean floor. The discovery immediately drew attention not just for its age, but for the sheer rarity of finding a weapon so well preserved in saltwater conditions. Local historians describe the find as a silent witness to the blood-soaked crusades that once raged across the Mediterranean. The sword's resting place, not far from the ancient port of Atlit, aligns with historical records of multiple sea skirmishes between Christian fleets and Muslim defenders. As news spread, it reignited fascination with the Crusader era, prompting comparisons to other medieval artifacts recovered from shipwrecks in the Levant. Many now see the sword as a tangible link to the chaos, faith, and desperation that defined those brutal maritime battles. But the heavy layer of shells and sands made it difficult for experts to examine the sword more closely. The Israel Antiquities Authority partnered with the Sorek Nuclear Research Center to use cutting-edge X-ray radiography technology to visually penetrate the crust and create a simulation of the sword. During early research into the sword, the crust cracked, exposing and splitting a large part of the iron blade. Researchers decided to continue studying the sword using non-invasive processes only, using the X-ray
X-rays. Archaeologists believe the sword was almost certainly lost overboard during a battle because the blade was slightly bent and the crossbar was whacked out of alignment. Everything points to the fact that this sword fell into the water during a fight. This weapon was likely a European sword with a 12th century blade and a 13th century pommel or handle. The Lost City of Heraklion. The Lost City of Heraklion, which was once the largest port in Egypt, was discovered underwater after more than 2,000 years in the year 2000. Its legendary beginnings date back to as early as the 12th century BC, and it has many links to ancient Greece, flourishing as long ago as the waning days of the pharaohs. The city was destroyed over time as it was weakened by a combination of earthquakes, tsunamis, and rising sea levels. According to archaeologists, at the end of the 2nd century BC, most likely after a severe flood, the monumental buildings of Heraklion collapsed into the water. Some of its inhabitants stayed in what was left of the city during the Roman era and the beginning of Arab rule, but by the end of the 8th century AB, the rest of Heraklion had sunk beneath the Mediterranean. Now many of its incalculable treasures have been brought up from the watery depths to which they were banished and have been shown around the world, allowing us to get a glimpse into the ancient Greek and Egyptian world. Heraklion, better known by its original Egyptian name Thonis and sometimes called Thonis Heraklion, was an ancient Egyptian port city located 32 kilometers north of Alexandria on the Mediterranean Sea. Scientists have described the Heraklion as a bubbling city, judging by the artifacts that were found in it. Since its discovery, the discovery of this lost and found ancient city impacts our history as they unveil untold stories of civilization lost to time.
Underwater crop circles. In certain tracts of the ocean, divers know how to look for underwater crop circles, ornate symmetrical patterns temporarily carved into the sandy seafloor. But since 1995, when they were first discovered in Japan, no one has been able to explain these phenomena. Now, the mystery has been solved. Pufferfish are the culprits. The team of researchers behind the finding declared that the huge geometrical structures play a role in this species' mating rituals. Initially dismissed as mere anomalies, these underwater crop circles and their relationship with the pufferfish soon garnered attention from researchers eager to unravel the mysteries of their creation. Through careful observation and analysis, scientists discovered that the intricate patterns serve a dual purpose. Not only do they function as elaborate courtship displays, but they also serve to aerate and oxygenate the surrounding sand, creating a more hospitable environment for the eggs laid by the female pufferfish. Males create the structures to attract females. Males laboriously flap their fins as they swim along the seafloor, resulting in disrupted sediment and amazing circular patterns. Although the fish are only about 5 inches long, the formations they make measure about 7 feet in diameter. It takes about 7 to 9 days for the pufferfish to construct the circles. Although some other fish construct mating mounds, the pufferfish's creation is unique for a number of reasons. First, they involve radially aligned ridges and valleys outside the nest site. Second, the male decorates these ridges with fragments of shells. Third, the male gathers fine sediments to give the resulting formation a distinctive look and coloring. Kuwamura said females base their decision about whether or not to mate with a male upon his construction skills, although the researchers still don't understand exactly what it is that females are looking for in their ideal circular pattern. If things go well, however, the female will lay her eggs in the center of the circle, and then, like most fish, the males will fertilize those eggs externally. There is a chance that it's only the fine sand the females are after, not the formation's intricate patterns or symmetry. The goblin shark. The goblin shark is a fascinating species that lives in the open ocean from near the surface down to depths of at least 4,265 feet. Like many species with a deep-sea affinity, scientists believe goblin sharks only come near the surface at night and spend most of their lives in the dark. The species is noted for its intimidating appearance and its ability to completely unhinge its jaws when feeding. The goblin shark's most conspicuous physical features are the long snout and the teeth. The rostrum is covered with special organs that help these sharks locate prey in the low light of their preferred habitat by sensing the electric field created by other fish. The teeth are long and scraggly, and the goblin shark is one of very few species of shark whose teeth are visible when the mouth is fully closed. In other words, goblin sharks cannot fit all of their teeth in their mouths. Live goblin sharks have only rarely been observed and almost never filmed, so most of scientists' knowledge of this species is a result of their accidental capture in fisheries targeting other species.
They are believed to be active predators and to take some fish as well as squids and pelagic crustaceans. When hunting, they identify prey below their sensitive rostrum and extend their jaws far from their mouths to grasp what they find. When feeding in this manner, they look more like something out of an alien movie than a shark. The goblin shark is an amazing discovery underwater because it is rare. Scientists are also fascinated by its unique features and how it survives in the deep ocean, making it an extraordinary underwater discovery.
The Yonaguni Monument. The Yonaguni Monument, located off the coast of Yonaguni Island in Japan, is an underwater structure that has sparked intense debate and speculation among archaeologists, geologists, and historians since its discovery by Kihachiro Aratake when he was diving in 1986. Believed by some to be a man-made formation, the Yonaguni Monument consists of massive stone blocks arranged in a series of terraces, steps, and pillars on the seabed. The Yonaguni Monument's purpose and origins are still up for debate, and many ideas have been put out to account for its mysterious features. According to some scientists, the structure is a naturally occurring geological phenomenon that was sculpted over thousands of years by tectonic activity, wind, and water erosion. They cite comparable submerged rock formations from other parts of the globe as proof of the monument's natural beginnings. Others, on the other hand, assert that the Yonaguni Monument clearly displays evidence of human skill, such as its precise carvings and straight edges and perfect angles. They contend that the building's sophisticated architectural elements and symmetrical layout point to deliberate creation by prehistoric societies, possibly stretching back thousands of years. Advocates of the artificial theory argue that the Yonaguni Monument could have functioned as a ceremonial site, religious temple, or even part of a lost civilization that existed during the last ice age when sea levels were lower. However, without conclusive evidence to support either hypothesis, the true nature of the Yonaguni Monument remains a mystery.